So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! The Detroit Lions have officially made their first hire of the offseason as they have found their brand new defensive line coach and run game coordinator. Now, yesterday, we talked a lot about how offensive coordinator Ben Johnson was returning for 2024, how likely it was for defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to return for the 2024 season, and the snowball effect that had with guys like Tanner Engstrom, with Antoine Randall L., with Kelvin Shepard, with Hank Fairley, and how that was really going to set the Detroit Lions coaching staff up to return in its entirety for next year. But at the end of that video, we did talk about one positional group that could be upgraded and one coach that could potentially be changed. That was, of course, the defensive line coach who last year was a brand new coach at the position. He had not coached for the Detroit Lions before, as Todd Wash left after the 2022 season to go be with the Carolina Panthers. I think the defensive line regressed a little bit in 2023, and Dan Campbell saw that and said, we're going to go get a different guy. We're going to go get somebody that's a little bit more proven, somebody that has a little bit more experience under their belt, and somebody that can help develop guys like Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston and Aleem McNeil and Broderick Martin and potentially Levi Onwuzurike, who had a really strong finish to the year, and Josh Paschal, who was pretty impactful this year. And they went out and they got a coach with a lot of defensive line experience, as well as a coach with some ties to Dan Campbell back in Miami. That defensive line coach is Tyrell Williams, somebody who has been coaching the defensive line since 1998 at the college level, all the way up through this past season with the Tennessee Titans. And just taking a look at his career so far, he started off at Fort Scott CC in 1998 as the defensive line coach, went to North Carolina A&T, then went to Youngstown State, then jumped to the D1 level with Akron, then jumped to the Big Ten with Purdue, then jumped to Texas A&M in the SEC, and then in 2012, finally got his first look in the NFL, coaching the 2012 to 2014 Oakland Raiders defensive line. This, of course, includes guys like Khalil Mack in his rookie season on that defensive line. And even though they weren't elite in that time frame, the Raiders were actually quite poor during that time frame. There were some positives on the defensive line from Oakland. He then got an opportunity in 2015 to go over to the Miami Dolphins, where he coached guys like Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh, and had some pretty good success on that Miami front from 2015 to 2017. He made the jump up to the Tennessee Titans in 2018 to 2022 as just the defensive line coach, where he was able to coach guys like Harold Landry. He was able to coach guys like Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, and then in 2023, he was elevated yet again to be the assistant head coach alongside the defensive line coach. So now he had more responsibility and more of a role. And in the 2023 season, the Titans pass rush was pretty good despite not having too many big names. Now, taking a look at his time with the Tennessee Titans, just because I crunched a few numbers and I wanted to see what he was able to accomplish on the Tennessee Titans defensive line over the last couple of years, I think there are some really positive things to look at. In 2018, his first year with the Titans ranked 16th in sacks in the NFL and 18th in the rushing defense. Now, that's not elite, but that would be a significant upgrade for the pass rush for the Detroit Lions. And of course, being your first year there, you don't necessarily have the most impact or the most influence on the roster construction. So it's really important to see over the next couple of years how the team grew and developed. Well, in 2019, they got a little bit better. They went 14th in sacks and 12th in the run game. But in 2020, with the COVID year and everything and all of the confusion and all of the chaos, they dropped back down. They were 30th in sacks. They were 19th in rush defense, but that was the year that Harold Landry got hurt. That was the year that they had a lot of injuries on the defensive line. So it's a little bit more acceptable and plausible that, yeah, the defensive line's not going to be as good when your top pass rusher isn't on the field for the entire season. In 2021, with everybody healthy, they bounced back big. As in 2021, they ranked as the 10th They ranked with the 10th most sacks in the NFL and the second best rushing defense in the league. The year after that, they had the number 1 rushing defense in the league in 2022, but did dip in sacks a little bit down to 20th in the NFL. They kind of averaged back out in 2023, being 17th in sacks and 13th in the rushing defense. But outside of 2020, kind of that weird, chaotic COVID year, his defensive line has never ranked lower than 20th in sacks. For reference, the Lions ranked 27th in sacks this year and have not been in the top 20 for the last several seasons. And he's never had a bottom 20 rushing defense, which isn't really a big problem in Detroit, as they were the number 2 rushing defense a year ago. So I do think there's going to be a good opportunity for him to come in and improve the pass rush. I think there's going to be a good opportunity for him to develop guys like Aleem McNeil and Broderick Martin and Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston. I think James Houston is a pretty good comparison and a pretty good parallel to a guy like Harold Landry. I think Aleem McNeil is a good opportunity and a good parallel to a guy like Jeffrey Simmons. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson is probably the best pass rusher he's worked with since Cam Wake, who had 29 sacks in the 3 seasons that he was being coached by Terrell Williams. I think this is a really good signing by the Detroit Lions. I think this is a guy that has been around the block, a guy that knows how to coach the defensive line, a guy that knows how to get a lot of production out of his defensive line. And I think he's not only going to keep the running defense elite, I think he can help the pass rush get up from, 24th, 27th in the NFL, all the way up to, 15, potentially even top 10 in the NFL in sacks, because they were already number 1 in pressures. They were already the highest pressuring defense in the NFL without him. So I think adding a veteran coach, adding a coach that has a lot of experience, has a lot of, has a big resume and has a lot of examples of players that he's coached that have succeeded and got a lot of sacks, I think this is a huge move for the Detroit Lions. I think it really does kind of improve the coaching staff overall. And I think now they have a really good defensive line coach. They have a great linebackers coach. I think Drew Bly could still develop into a really good defensive backs coach. Was great with the secondary last year as far as the safeties go. And then, of course, you look at, the offensive side. Hank Fairley's elite. Antoine Randall L is really, really good. Tanner Engstrom is really good. Scotty Montgomery is great. And I think that the real big hole on this roster last year, as far as a coaching staff standpoint, was the defensive line coach, somebody who wasn't as experienced, somebody that didn't have as much of a resume as Tyrell Williams has. And I think now that they have that veteran guy, somebody that's going to come in and fit the culture and has done it in the NFL for over a decade, I think it's going to help the Detroit Lions defensive line improve. And I really think this is a great hire for the Detroit Lions. I know it's really early in the offseason. I know that we are not even at Super Bowl weekend yet. There's not a whole lot the Lions can do as far as improving the team, but I do think this is a very good first step for the offseason. And I think this is a great stepping stone to go into the offseason to potentially get a couple defensive line help pieces and a couple of pieces on the defense. With all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Just a quick update about the new coaching hire and the new defensive line / run game coordinator for the Detroit Lions. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the hire down below. With all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, and as always, go Lions.